Good evening. I'd like to call to order the January 13, 2025 Lower Makefield Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to welcome our new member, Ginny Torbert, who's a familiar face to many people in the community. All members are present, and our first item is the reorganization, which I'll turn this over to Maureen at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, we'll accept a nomination for the chair of the Lower Makefield Township Planning Commission.
I'd like to make a motion that Colin Coyle be chair of the Lower Makefield Township Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
A motion has been made. Is there any discussion?
I will accept your nomination gratefully.
Thank you. I'd like to call this to a vote. Vote is for the nomination for chair of the Lower Makefield Township Planning Commission.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And would you like to take it from here for
Sure.
vice chair? Or?
Yep. So I will now entertain motions, nominations for the vice chair of the Lower Makefield Township Planning Commission, the finest of our commissions.
I'd like to make a motion that Tajender Gill remain the vice chair of the Planning Commission.
I accept.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion from the board, the commission? Any public comment? Call the question. All those in favor of Mr. Gill continuing on as vice chair of the Planning Commission, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Gill.
Thank you.
At this point, nominations for secretary of the Planning Commission.
I'd like to make a motion that Adrian Costello be the secretary of the Planning Commission.
I will second that motion. Any discussion? Mr. Costello, do you accept the nomination? We're not letting you leave the chair, so you have to say yes. Any public comment? All right, hearing none, I call the question. All those in support of Mr. Costello serving as secretary of the Planning Commission for 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. I believe that is the end of our current nominations. We don't have to select any alternates or anything like that. So with that, we move to item number 3 on our agenda, which is the approval of minutes from the December 9th, 2024 meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Yes?
You may want to grab the gavel for your seat just saying.
I don't anticipate needing the gavel until the end, but I will say Mr. Bush didn't gavel quite enough for my tastes, and that will be the key departure from his administration. Thank you, Mr. Liaison. And also welcome to our new liaison for 2025.
Thank you very much. Happy to be back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the December 9th, 2024 meeting?
I'll move.
A second?
I'll second.
Perfect. Any comment on the minutes? Hearing none, I call the question to approve the minutes from the 12/9/2024 meeting. Aye?
Aye.
Abstain.
By a vote of 4-0, the approval of the minutes passes. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda tonight relates to the 1511 Lindenhurst minor subdivision, and I think there's quite a bit to go through on this one, Dan?
So yeah, there's the sewage facilities planning modules component 4A, which is a municipal planning agency review for an individual and community on-lot disposal of sewage. And recently there's been a SALDO waiver request that was attached to the email we sent out. I believe they're online.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh wow, that echoes loud.
That booms a little bit. So then just as a refresher, 1511 Lindenhurst came before us in the last couple of months around
It was in October.
It was October, okay. So looking for a sewer hookup into a neighboring subdivision to this particular lot that's going to be subdivided. We had run into some trouble getting Aqua to acquiesce to doing so without a significant reroute of the proposed sewer and water services. So I believe now you are before us requesting permission to put a well on site as well as on-site septic. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Keith, if you want to introduce yourself and
Absolutely. My name is Heath Dumack. I am the president and owner of Dumack Engineering. We are the engineers of record for the minor subdivision that was previously approved by you guys. And due to about 10 months worth of negative interactions with Aqua, we are back before you this evening looking for the sewer planning module approval as well as the potential waiver for utilizing the proposed well and septic instead of the running a new sanitary line. There is, to give you a little background, Dolington Estates, which is behind our property, the existing single-family home, has a sanitary line summit manhole along with an easement that was intended way back when in the late 90s to service this house. The existing house has an existing septic system, and we are more than happy to connect the existing house to that manhole, as was foreseen almost 30 years ago. The issue we've been having with Aqua is they wouldn't and won't permit us to access that manhole for proposed sanitary for the new lot. They're instructing us to run 1,700 feet of force main to an existing manhole over where Triumph Building Group built, and I believe it was 7 or 8 homes a couple of years ago. And the intent of that line was to service 2 other existing homes that have failing septic that have expressed interest in connecting into the Aqua Sanitary. However, we got an initial cost estimate and proposal from Shanahan, and those numbers were extreme. Total cost without extras or potential problems was $317,000, which came out to approximately $79,000 per home to run the sanitary line and connect. So in discussions with Jim Majewski and our client, the suggestion was to come back to you guys for a waiver of the sanitary sewer ordinance to allow us to put a new septic system in for the new building lot. And that's where we are now.
okay, Heath, thank you for catching us up. My immediate question in the waiver request letter from Obermeyer, which you may or may not be able to speak to because that's not you, but you are requesting a waiver number 2A2. If public sewer facilities are not available, the developer shall provide for sewage disposal on an individual lot basis according to the rules, regulations, terms, definitions, and conditions of the individual sewage disposal system application certification procedure for the county in accordance with the regulations of the County Department of Health. So why are you requesting a waiver from that requirement?
We're not. We're requesting the waiver from the public sewer requirement and that we are willing to do the septic system as per County of Bucks.
The letter I have in front of me says that you're requesting the following waivers. One of them relates to a private sewage disposal system on lot.
I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that one. We're not asking for a waiver from septic. We're simply asking for a waiver of the sewer requirements. I believe your
Yep.
ordinance is specific that we have to go, as long as there's public sewer within 1,000 feet of the property, we
Right.
are required to connect to it.
So Maureen, if I'm reading this correctly, 2A1 is the correct waiver request from the requirement to connect, but 2A2 and 2A3 wouldn't be salient?
Which, are you referencing the December 4th letter?
The Obermeyer December 4th letter, yes.
Yes, that is correct.
So would we, just as a point of order, would we reject waiver requests 2A2 and 2A3, or would we request that the applicant resubmit their requests for waivers without 2 and 3?
That was addressed, I'm sorry, I was confused. I would go with I would preferably go with the latter, to request a resubmittal.
Okay. And would that then just move this matter to another planning commission meeting? Or do we move forward, if we were to move forward and accept these waiver requests, would it be pending a new submission?
You could do that, if you're so inclined.
Mr. Coyle?
Hi,
This is
Barbara.
Barbara. Yes, I'm here on behalf of the township in this matter. They had me in the meeting room and they didn't ship me over.
Welcome to the meeting. It's good to see you again, Barbara.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you, thank you. It's good to see everybody too.
Yes, I knew Barbara was handling some part
Got
of the
it.
township, but I did not see
Understood.
her joining, so that's why I jumped in. So I will
Got it.
defer to Barbara.
So to rescue Ms. Carlton, the actual waiver is from 178-103 2A1. Because technically there is a sewer line within 1,500 feet of the property
Yes.
that would otherwise be required for a connection. The issue it becomes is Aqua is refusing to allow that connection to the sewer line within the 1,500 feet.
Understood.
And if the township insists that the developer proceed with connection as Aqua is demanding by constructing a force main, township may run afoul of some current case law that prohibits making an applicant or a developer construct post-off-site improvements.
So is,
Can I ask a?
you, of course.
So, Barbara, really quick on a clarification point. Item number 2, where it references section 178-103, public and private sewer. Everything, A123 there, is that just a copy and paste from our code that's copying the
Yes, it
entire
is.
section of the
We
code?
copied, yes, Ms. Miller
Yeah.
copied the entirety of the code dealing with public water and public sewer.
I
I
and I understand that, but it appears to me that the request from the applicant is a waiver from the entirety of 178-103A, which would be a waiver to not have to provide any sewage disposal related to the subdivision.
No, that's not accurate. It would have to be just a waiver from 2A1 for connection within
Right.
the public sanitary sewer. Obviously, the proposed, the engineer here for the developer is proposing both a well and a septic system in lieu of
Right.
the public connection.
So-
So I think what she did is she just cut and pasted the relevant applications. I don't think she realized that she needed to clarify for the board or planning commission the specific waiver she's asking.
So as a matter of procedure, are we counting this as a request for 2 waivers, which is waiver 1 and waiver 2, or are we considering this a request for, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waivers where we can reject individual subsections, which is favorable to the applicant?
What I would say is if it makes you more comfortable because she cited the entirety of the ordinance, I would do it in parts. So like
Yeah.
178, 101A waiver request, 2A1, and then you can deny waivers for 2A2 and 2A3.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so all that being said, thank you for the couple minutes in the legal tangle there. I think before we open to questions from the commission, does the town's engineer have comment on the request?
No comment.
Okay, and Dan, as the township's representative, I mean, are you folks in favor of approving this?
I think whatever is the most feasible. I mean, I think in light of how far away the sewer is, I think it kind of makes a little sense.
Yeah, as the board liaison that voted on the policy and these rules, the board of supervisors, generally speaking, has been pretty clear about the policy that we would like to enforce moving forward. So I don't know how the board would vote on this specifically, but with everything that's gone on with the sewer system, we are currently you may or may not know this, still going through the Act 167 plan several years later. So this is something that the Board of Supervisors will consider in addition to everything that you all are discussing.
Okay, thank you. Any comment or questions from the commission?
For me on this one, I've been going to supervisor meetings for a long time, and the occasion when well and septic, all the private systems come up, the answer has been probably one of the clearest things I've ever heard in my decade and a half of observing this process. So my opinion is and I'm not sure we could change that where we are now, is to say no, but to suggest to supervisors, because of the newness of the whole situation, see if they can do anything to get involved to kind of rectify with Aqua on going where they should be going to help with this development. But I can't, knowing what I know about the township, I can't support that waiver. It's been way, way too clear across parties, across boards of supervisor. I mean, it has been 100% clear where the board.
If I may?
Yes.
Am I on?
Yeah, you are. Go ahead, Heath.
If I may, we have been working with Jim Majewski from the township since August, trying to get a meeting set up with Aqua to discuss options. They've been unresponsive. They have declined to want to meet. We at this point, and I don't say this often, it feels like we have been pounding our head against a wall. Aqua has not budged. Aqua doesn't want to respond to anything. The enormity of the effort to bring sanitary in initially for the existing lot, existing home and the proposed lot was an effort into itself. Then they tacked on, they wanted us to be responsible for connecting 2 additional homes that had failing septics. And at the time, the best offer they gave us was an additional $15,000 to $20,000 per home for compensation for the effort to run that sanitary line 17 plus 100 feet. And that doesn't include the engineering design, having to go to the DEP for your general permits because we have a stream crossing as well. And I believe when we get down to Dolington Road, that's a PennDOT road, we now have to deal with PennDOT and all the nuances of PennDOT and the highway occupancy permit process to actually connect to the sewer system in the PennDOT right away.
I empathize with the position that you're in, but my feelings on this is still the same, personally.
Understood.
Tony?
Barbara, you had mentioned some new case law of some sort that could create some issues for the township. Could you elaborate on that?
there was a case decided, well, I don't remember, it's been a couple of years, but it's called the Troy Nacky case. And in that, a developer was being asked to make construction or improvements off-site of the actual property. And the Commonwealth Court said you can't do that. The municipality's planning code does not allow you to do off-site improvements of that nature. Now, this situation is a bit odd in that the subdivision and land development ordinance as created by the township dealt with the public water and public sewer connections because at the time the township had a water and sewer authority. That system has since been sold to another entity, Aqua, who is still a public utility that is now making a demand for a developer to construct what in effect is an off-site improvement by running a lateral force along Darlington Road up towards the Triumph Builders homestead. I don't know if the Board of Supervisors approves that requirement, how we would fare in any court review of the instance. And since the subdivision and land development ordinance does allow, if public sewer facilities are not available, which technically they are not in this case because Aqua's refusing the connection, I don't see how a developer would be, for lack of a better term, punished by the courts for wanting to put in a septic system.
Thank you.
Sorry, TJ, go.
I was gonna say, has Aqua denied any other cases? I know there's been a lot of development now, and there's a couple subdivisions that are going to be happening and some new developments. Is it the case with them too, that they're going to have the same issue with Aqua?
I'm not aware of any. I don't know if there's all that many new development applications that have been submitted to the township, but of this one, this is the only one that I've actually heard an issue with Aqua in not being cooperative in allowing the connection.
Barbara,
And
could
the thing that strikes me as odd is it's the connection for the existing house is allowed. There's a second lot being created, so it's only one other house going to go into that existing connection. It's not like we have a development of 30, 40, 50 homes trying to connect. So I'm not sure what Aqua's doing.
Our original design included both new sanitary for the existing house as well as sanitary for the new proposed lot going into the summit manhole behind the existing house. And Ebert Engineering and ultimately Aqua both said they would not allow it.
Really?
But
So I have a question for Maureen, Barbara, or Dan. Under the, and I don't know who's best able to handle this, but under the agreement to sell the sewer system, is there a by the township to Aqua, is there a mechanism for resolving these types of issues in that agreement?
So I'll say it from.
And if so, what is that mechanism?
What we've experienced to date, when there have been issues, any issues at all, really with Aqua, is that when the supervisors have reached out to Aqua, and I was going to mention this earlier, Mr. Dumack, we can probably help you with this. Aqua has been very responsive, whether it's fixing something, extending something, integrating into something, doing a study, et cetera, et cetera. If there's an email or a phone call that comes from either a member of the Board of Supervisors, sometimes a member of our state delegation that's local, they tend to be quite responsive. That's been anecdotal, but it's something that I would be happy to do to try and help this along if that would work. Otherwise, obviously, we have a process for this, but just on the side, if that would be helpful to help keep that conversation going and alive to see if there are options, I can certainly help to make those connections. No pun intended.
Yep.
And
Bar-
if I may, I don't remember the specific terms of the overall agreement with Aqua for the sale of the sewer system. I was involved with acquiring the appropriate easements and titles of the transfer of the line and things of that nature. I'm not sure of the exact terms as to what Aqua should do in the event a new land development project comes along. It would require having to look into that.
You jogged my memory on something else, Barb. When it comes to the folks, single homes or existing facilities that are on Onlot septic, that was a question that was specifically asked of all the bidders as to how they would address that. And the response, that, as my recollection, not reading from any meeting minutes, of course, is that they were positive towards assisting in getting those connections updated from a, if someone wanted to switch or transfer from an on-lot septic to their system. How that works in practice, obviously a little different than what they say in a meeting, but that is anecdotal.
Barbara, let me ask, so there's an existing home at this site that is served by septic, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if that septic were to fail and the landowner needed to place a new septic field or system, would they need to come before us for a waiver from the sewer requirement? They would just be permitted to replace that failed septic system? Okay, so for the record, you're
If
nodding
so-
yes. Okay.
Yeah, I'm nodding yes,
Yeah.
because it is, it wouldn't fall under this township subdivision and land development application at that point in time.
Yep.
So even if this wasn't pending in front of the board and
Yep.
something happened with that septic system, the property owner could apply for the repair or renovation of that existing system.
Okay. The challenge that I have here is that we're not talking about replacing an existing system, right, maintaining the use of the lot. We have an applicant who's requesting that we permit them to subdivide into two separate lots, and in order to create additional value or for whatever purpose, they're now requesting a waiver from a standing ordinance that I'm not aware that we have waived in the past. And I'm not comfortable granting that first waiver without a strong hardship reason from the applicant. I mean, I think if we were to call a vote, I would recommend the board oppose. TJ or Ginny, any other thoughts?
Do we want to see if BOS could help and assist with
So I think,
them first, and then
Yeah.
and then obviously if they've exhausted all channels, and now the only way to do it is to spend $317,000 to connect their own sewer system. Maybe that's the hardship that we find. It's
$317,000 for the convenience, and of a new use for the land. Ginny, do you have anything to add?
Excuse me. I have a question. Does it matter in terms of, because I know we went through this with a house when I lived on the Torbert farm. Does it matter how many people will live in each of those houses and how different that is? Because I know when the private septic companies come out, they want to know how many people are going to live in each house. And I'm just wondering, are we going from one house with 5 people to another 2 houses with 5 people, or?
It's not normally rated based on people, but it's rated on bedrooms.
Okay, bedrooms.
So we're not asking for a 20-bedroom house.
Right.
It's a simple, it's probably going to be, and I apologize, I don't have the architecturals in front of me. It's probably a 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom home.
I believe it's a 5-bedroom from the submission letters.
Okay. So based on that, it's fairly standard for what homeowners are looking for in this era. Potentially an extended family, 5 bedrooms.
And has the current system been evaluated and rated? The system for the current house?
I do believe the existing septic needs repairs.
Okay.
So I think there's three motions that could easily be made here, right? If someone wants to make them. One would be to accept the waivers, and we've talked through at the beginning how we might structure that, in favor of the applicant to cover for the text construction of the waiver itself. The second would be to deny the waivers, and the third would be to table the matter to give the board time to see if they can engage Aqua. So I think it's appropriate to ask the applicant, do you have a preference if we were, the choice is either for us to table and give time to ask the board to engage with Aqua, or to make a motion to accept or reject. Would you have a direction you'd want to go there?
My first gut reaction is, let's see if we can get Aqua to engage. However, the reality is actions speak louder than words, and for the last 9+ months, we have been beating our head against a wall. And we've given Aqua all kinds of options, and they just blanket say, you have to do X.
Right.
If you think the township can sway them, that was the same position that Jim Majewski had back in August.
Yep.
I'm willing to give it one more shot.
I think our new chair is willing to give it a shot.
Sure. And if you can, somebody can share the details of contact information and what you need, we can help you engage with Aqua from our side and see what we can do.
All right.
So is there any public comment before we hear a motion? Okay, no public comment. Thank you. Does anyone like to make a motion?
I can try. I'd like to move that we table this request to give the applicant time to work with the Board of Supervisors and the township to try and work with Aqua one more time, see if they come up with a better solution that works for everybody. I guess that would be the motion. I don't know if that was close enough, right? So that's my motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. The motion before us, any further discussion?
Can I just say one thing?
Of course.
This is more to Dan. I'm sure you already am thinking this, but I just want to say it, that the more I'm thinking about this in the last 15 minutes, this is important. This particular question is important because if we were to give a variance, we're essentially setting a new policy. Because this is the first time it's come up in this new arrangement. And if we go, say we're essentially saying that we may have to redo or change our perspective on what our township rules are regarding sewers. And so I think we have to make sure we try everything, and then honestly, if it doesn't work and we have no way to get it done, what is our new policy? Because they could do this to us every time.
Loud and clear.
Okay.
Understood.
Any further comment from the commission?
I just wanted to say, I think that's a very, what Adrian just said is a very persuasive argument that this would be setting a precedent. There are an awful lot of single-family homes on lots that are 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever acres, spread out all throughout the township. And to set a precedent like this, I agree that it's worth another effort to try to work something
Yeah, no,
out.
I appreciate that. And I think, Dan, you might know this off the top of your head or something for us to look into, is just to evaluate again how many homes are on septic and maybe in similar or maybe not so similar situations where this may be impacting them.
Yeah, I don't know that number, but I can definitely look into it. I'll make a note of that.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, hearing no further comment, we call the question. The motion is to table the matter to allow the Board of Supervisors time to try and engage with Aqua to drive a resolution. Call the question. All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. I'll
see-
report to my client.
We'll see you soon, Mr. Dumack.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Take care, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Everybody.
Thank you, Barbara.
Bye.
The next item on the agenda, number 5, the Howie lot line change.
Okay, so these are plans that were submitted as part of the SALDO process. The plan number is 697. So in layman's terms, what they're proposing is a proposed lot line change and lot consolidation. They're transferring .165 acres from tax map parcel 20-849 to tax map parcel 20-8-751. TMPs 1 and 2 will be consolidated. The resulting acreage of parcel ending in 49 will be 1.798 acres, and the resulting acreage of parcel 1 will be 1.77 acres. Both of them contain single-family detached dwellings, and the one along Woodside contains a shed. Both lots will continue to be served by on-lot water and sewer facilities, and I believe we have the applicant online to provide further context.
Yes, hi everyone. Ken Howie and my lovely neighbor Michelle is also on the line here. So we are grateful for everyone's time here, and have just a little bit of background and context is I purchased my property at 1515 Rolling Green Road in 2020. Michelle has lived at her property on Woodside for a couple decades.
Yes, almost 20-some.
Yep, there we go. And so Michelle actually was in the process of listing her house for sale last year, and I had approached her about acquiring part of her property that is to the rear of a 3-car garage that was built by the previous owners of my property. It would add to just our yard area, and the intended purpose of adding this parcel to our current lot is mainly just to have kind of a flat open area for my kids to play. And so, we discussed in further detail, Michelle and I came to an agreement that, we would carve off this 0.16 acre parcel and add it and effectively do a lot line change on a existing piece of my property, and that Michelle and I would kind of work out that agreement so that we would be able to do hopefully a simple, minor lot line change to the parcel that we're discussing here. We did receive feedback from both Bucks County and from Lower Makefield Township. Jim Majewski provided that to us, and so we have the list of additional requests that has been presented by the review of the township engineer. We just got that today, so Michelle and I have taken a quick look at it, and we'll be following up with Kavanaugh to the surveyor Kavanaugh to ensure that we're addressing those issues. There are a couple of questions that we had about those, and I don't know if this is the appropriate forum to bring those up or not, or if we just settle that offline between Jim and Kavanaugh as well. But hopefully a pretty straightforward request here. And Michelle, I'll ask you if there's any additional context you'd like to provide here as well.
Okay. No, I mean, just the points we discussed, and thank you, everybody, and welcome, Ginny. It's nice seeing you from my historic days. Just a couple really points, but there was a lot of questions that Ken and I went through on points 2, 3, and 4 regarding access on my end, which is Woodside. There is a typo on point 2. It states Woodland Roads. And point 11, also the typo of Woodland Roads. But pretty much semantic. So this is a straightforward, as Ken mentioned, lot line change for a small part of my property that we haven't used in a while that Ken and his family can utilize as a flat piece of parcel that's adjacent to their carriage house. And that's it. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. So members of the Planning Commission, we put out the letters from the Bucks County Planning Commission and from RVE for your review. The letter from Bucks County Planning Commission is a little bit more administrative, just kind of addressing some editorial matters. They also had the same exact comment Pat did about noting that a single-family house is a use by right and not a nonconformity. But Pat, I'm not sure if you want to maybe kind of go over your letter, and then in tandem with that, if the applicants have questions, it might be a good time.
Super quick, just on the topic of the Bucks County letter. They talk about the shed setback being 75 feet, but we just made an ordinance adjustment on that to reduce that, correct?
Correct. I think they might be referring to, like, if it's an arterial road setback for the dwelling. But I was a little confused with that too, because any shed greater than 200 feet needs to be 10 feet from the property. Less than 200 feet is 5 feet. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Pat?
I do agree. The comments, we could, please feel free, once you discuss with Kavanaugh, they could reach out to us. We could go through these comments in more detail. Just some of the three items that I talked about, discussed in our review letter, was just relocating the shed as it's right now on the rear property line, on the proposed rear property line. The other item would be discussing the dedication of Woodside Road, as right now the parcel does go to the approximate center line of Woodside Road. And then the third item is just to discuss the easements, because the existing stone driveway occurs on the two subject parcels and also the parcel to the west as well, as that's all access driveways there too. So we were just looking for clarification on those.
Sorry, Pat, the plan indicates an asphalt driveway?
Well, there is a stone driveway. From the asphalt driveway from Woodside Road, it turns into a stone driveway once you get past the dwelling. Up and close to the existing shed.
Oh, okay, I see that on the plan now. Thank you.
And then it extends a little bit further north into the new portion of property for the Rolling Green Road parcel as well. So there's a little bit of stone driveway that's that property line.
Okay. All right. So on the shed point, so I know that there was a comment from Bucks County, and then also Pat from your document the comment on your document is to relocate the shed. The suggestion from Bucks County is, to just note that as an easement for the shed. I mean, the shed is an existing structure. And so I think Michelle and I would both be comfortable with just, granting that an easement because it doesn't have the setback. Would that be a reasonable workaround, or what are your thoughts on that point?
My initial thought would be is you're proposing that new lot line and you're creating that nonconformity.
Can the lot line just be moved back 10 feet?
Yeah, can the lot line be adjusted to create the 10-foot setback?
I mean, I'd rather not record an easement and kind of force that relationship onto any future neighbors who may occupy these properties. It's a better choice at this point in time to request the applicants either agree to move the shed or make a small 10-foot adjustment into the lot line.
Okay.
I understand there's costs involved either way, and that's, it's, it's unfortunate, but I think we have to think about potential future property owners who may not get along so well as the two of you do.
Yeah, understood. Okay.
May I just, that was
Yeah, go
part of the discussion. I mean, obviously, I was introduced as, we've had this property for over 20 years. The shed's been there probably over that 25, 30 years. It will eventually fall down. It's grandfathered. Any potential owners have been positioned from a marketing perspective that it's a grandfathered easement shed. I personally don't want to impact or put the money into removing it. So whatever we can do, just to make a simple lot line change would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, if it's grandfathered under the current parcel, right, and any adjustments to the parcel, so.
Right.
And we'll leave that to the two of you to decide how you want to solve the issue.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, move the line, take down the shed, move the shed. I mean, that's really the three options, right? Oh. Sorry. You have three options. Either take down the shed, move the line, or move the shed.
Yeah.
I think that to me seems like,
Okay.
I agree. You can't give some exception for that.
Well,
Not when you're in control of everything anyway.
So we have 23 points on the letter. Do we just want to go through them quick, top down?
I don't think they're prepared to do that this evening.
Okay.
Maybe the applicant is, but I got the sense they weren't.
Yeah, okay. I mean, a lot of this stuff is smaller stuff. So if the lot line moves back 10 feet, you're good. And then we just have to clarify what's going on, number 10, the portion of the stone drive. You don't necessarily need an easement if the applicant on Woodside doesn't want to retain right of access to that small wedge of gravel, then it just conveys with the new lot.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, that may be a point, Michelle. It's both on point 4 and point 10, right? So I think there was a question about, the right of way and what, I guess the relevance to the lot line change that we're proposing here. And then I think also on point 10, just I guess requesting further clarification on that. Michelle, is that right? Would you like to go into that in some detail here?
Yeah, no, I think that's what we kind of discussed, that I had a question of any easement rights from Woodside Road to the Rolling Green side. It's really not necessary. The back of our driveway is gravel. It has been. It's a farm. If you guys are familiar, I know Jenny is, that it's a historic farm that was originally parceled out where Ken's property is. And then there's another parcel to the left. So I was a little bit in question when I read through 23 points for this friendly lot line change.
Yeah, Pat. So the right-of-way relates actually to access to along Woodside Road, correct? Not related to the driveway itself?
Correct. From Woodside Road, as you know, the driveway extends back through the property, right where the property lines change. If you wanted to zoom in on that particular corner, is where it does show up.
This is item 4?
No, we're.
Yeah, item 4 is the one that
number
we're
10.
questioning right now.
Number 4 is really what we're talking about is Woodside Road is the adjacent parcel. There's 40 foot. If we just extend down to here, is really to dedicate that 40 foot to the township, is what we're looking for.
But what, just as a quick question, wouldn't it be dedicated to the township already? We've been here over 20 years. I mean, they have access to the utility lines on the property anyway. There's no right-of-way access for Ken's property to come through. I know you're imagining something like Dolington or one of the other old farmhouses. We all have our own independent access. So I just needed some
Yeah.
clarification on that.
Yeah.
I believe, Michelle, that this relates actually to the frontage along Woodside Road. Is that correct, Pat? So it
That's
has
correct.
nothing to do with access
Not
to the other parcel. You're just trying to address what you see as an issue with the
Really, the
current
right
parcel.
of way of Woodside Road, as this was we could just say, traditionally, the parcels used to be described to the center line of the road with a right-of-way, public right-of-way easement, if you will, width that was within the parcel. What we're requesting here is for that particular piece of right-of-way to be dedicated to the township. And so it doesn't become, the homeowner's responsibility at this point.
So we don't currently have a right-of-way to that frontage?
There could be fundamentally an easement or, an ultimate right-of-way. What we're asking for right now from this plan, that you could see the two interior iron pipes found. Those aren't really 40 feet from your property line. So if there's any additional documentation within that your surveyor could share with us regarding the right-of-way width in front of this parcel, but traditionally, as these parcels go in and get redeveloped, they usually this frontage just gets dedicated to the township.
So you're saying there's a utility of some sort that has been located within that space, and you're recommending or asking that land, instead of an easement, which is probably recorded, that land be dedicated to the township, that frontage, so that the township is responsible for any damage or repair to that utility rather than the homeowner.
Correct. The frontage, so the township
Right.
has that property. Correct.
Which is consistent with all development.
There are, if you're familiar with it, and I don't see the calipers on the engineering report, but Jim Bray can attest, there are at least 5 or 6 200-year-old sycamore trees on that particular part of Woodside Road. So, I don't know how that's handled from an engineering perspective. I just want to raise awareness that everybody's been always very cognizant of that when they prune them and things like that.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's requesting any changes to that area, anything at all. It's really about dedicating that portion of land to the ownership of the township. So the township is responsible for any buried utilities that require repair or maintenance rather than you. And are we saying that this would be a requirement for the adjustment of the lot line, or it's just a recommendation that we're making since the lot lines are being opened up for discussion?
The right-of-way offer for dedication is typically proposed, and it's up for the township to select to accept that right-of-way for dedication, or they could decline that dedication, and it would just revert back to the owner how it is currently today. But the first step is the offering of that dedication to the township.
Okay, well, if this is going to get revisited, the lot line anyways, I mean, I think I would recommend that the township speak with the landowners to clarify this offline. I'm not sure we need to.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other, from the two property owners, do you have any other questions at this time related to this punch list of questions?
At this time, I don't. Michelle, if you do, please continue. It sounds like, to clarify, we will need to address all of these points, including the 3 options with the shed that we discussed here. We'll need to have an updated set of drawings and legal descriptions to reflect the comments. And I did want to clarify, we received some comments or guidance from Bucks County as well. How does the township look at that? Are those also requirements, or should we really be following Pat's kind of list here as our primary set of revisions to make?
The Bucks County letter isn't requirements, it's more just recommendations provided to the
Okay.
township. Yeah, it's just it's a requirement of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Code that it gets sent to them, so it's just more of a statutory requirement that they review it.
Okay,
And-
okay.
Speaking of just things that are recommendations, so Pat, number 13, the condition of the use of the ponds. I mean, nothing they're doing is talking about the ponds.
No, nothing regarding the ponds. We just wanted to, as this property is in front of the township, is to understand it from a historical standpoint regarding stormwater management or whatnot. So it's more of a clarification. As we've been talking about it, is that with the exception of 3, 4, and 10 that we talked about today, we're mostly plan, you could say, revision items, just to address our township ordinance, our SALDO items, as well as zoning items. But it was more to understand of is there a stormwater management requirement for there from that pond and whatnot.
And on top
Mr.
of
Chair?
that, yeah. Also, if it's a waters of the state, it's regulated by Pennsylvania Code Title 25, Chapter 105, like wetlands and streams and and floodplains for that matter, floodways. So there would be, on that end of things, it would be good for the landowner to know if those are regulated waters of the state, to inform them as to what they could or could not do without permits from the state. And on the flip side of that, if it's a stormwater management facility, it's regulated differently than a pond, and the township, from a stormwater perspective, we are going through a stormwater ordinance change and everything else that I think a lot of folks are aware of, so it would be good for us to know that too. But
And
it doesn't.
all of this is applicable even though the lot line that they're moving is nowhere near the ponds.
So yeah, if they're,
Okay.
in our code, when we're doing a lot of this stuff, we're talking about caliper trees, for example, that's sort of the existing conditions plan that is typically required, that you need all that information to inform the decision.
Yeah.
Okay? So, I think the most appropriate thing to do at this point, either I think the applicant can withdraw the application for review at this time to make the corrections, or we can table it. It's effectively, it's the same thing. Anyone like to make a Yep.
Yeah, no, sounds good. I mean, Michelle, are you good, or anything else that you wanted to ask about here?
No, I mean, it just seems like a lot of stuff as a homeowner on the Woodside property when I'm selling the back portion of my flag lot. I just want to be aware that with the new changes and access with the township on the 80 feet, 0.2, 0.4, 40 feet access to the township. Am I losing that property? Is that how the semantics works once they do these lot lines?
Yes, with the 40 foot, you would be losing that 40 feet of frontage.
That's a lot of frontage.
I mean, it's that area, however, it's also is part of the roadway system as well, and utility system.
Right.
Is that frontage I mean, we don't know the exact square footage of that, but is that calculated into the total square footage of your lot? I would assume it would be, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
If it gets dedicated, it would be subtracted from your frontage,
That's what I thought.
okay? But it's also a restriction as well, as you're not able to put a building on there or do any improvements.
No,
on
it's
there.
it's a tree lot on the front. Now, and the other thing is the way that the driveway was created, it's not a shared driveway or anything, but you're asking for access on the driveway portion, which with the exception of anybody who needs to get down there for utility lines.
Sorry, Michelle, which item is that on the list?
40 feet, wasn't there something on the
The driveway piece that I saw was related to number 10,
Okay.
which is just to say that the a very small triangle of your stone driveway on this plan would be in the, now on the property of Mr. Howie, right? So it's just asking for clarification. Are you recording an easement where Mr. Howie has agreed that you have access to that portion of the driveway? Or are you saying now that that triangle of land is free and clear owned by Mr. Howie, which, you know, absent an easement being recorded is what it means. That's all that relates to. We're not asking for public access to the driveway. We're not trying to guarantee access from the driveway to other neighboring lots.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So it's just a request for clarification on what that agreement is. Okay, so if there's no further discussion at this time, I'll make the motion to table the matter to allow the applicants time to speak further with the township and get clarifications on some of the points from Remington Burnick's letter.
I'll second it.
Any public comment? No more board comment? Let's call the question. All in favor of tabling the item, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you for your time tonight, and sorry to send you back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the list is number 6, the 2024 annual report of the Lower Makefield Township Planning Commission. This was prepared, I believe, by the amazing and wonderful and very capable Mr. McLoone. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. What do you have to say about your report, Mr. McLoone?
Okay, so yeah, we reviewed this last year as well, but this report is provided in part to satisfy the requirements of Section 207 of Pennsylvania Act 247, the municipality's planning code, so we legally have to do this and display it on our website. Essentially, just provides a summary of all the actions that were taken by the Planning Commission last year. It lists who was on the board, how many times you met, which was 13. It talks about the reorganization, some of the staff from the township and the consultants. And then in 2024, the Planning Commission reviewed 1 sketch plan, 2 special exceptions, and 1 minor subdivision. There were also various ordinances that were reviewed, such as the historic structures demolition ordinance, the accessory structure ordinance, and so on. And then it breaks it down by the 1 subdivision and land development, that was the Timco noise, and then it breaks it down by how everyone voted. And then on the second page, it just breaks it down by each meeting, just kind of gives a summary of what was talked about, and again, how you voted. And then also for those watching, there are hyperlinks to each of these meetings, and it takes you to the meeting minutes if you'd like to read about them more. But with the Planning Commission's approval, we can put this on the website just so that we can meet the requirements of the MPC.
Thank you, Dan. Any discussion or comment from the commission?
Only comment I have is, good summary here, but happen to notice, just forgot about it, actually. Back in August, we talked about the updated sign ordinance draft discussion, and never came back to us, and I was just wondering where that stood.
It is still in process. As I think I noted at that a subsequent meeting after its introduction, there was new case law that came forward that required a subsequent revision to the ordinance itself.
We're getting an indication that you're too far from the microphone.
Sorry, thank you. Let me try this again. I may or may not have reported that subsequent to the introduction of the ordinance and I think a very brief discussion at this committee, there was new case law that came through, that came forward that required a further review and revision to the ordinance itself. It's in process of being revised, and it will be before you again sometime this year.
Thank you.
Great. Do we need to we don't have to make a motion, we have to make a motion to publish, is that correct?
Sorry, if you'd like, I don't think it's mandatory, but if you'd like, you could make a motion and we'll put it on the website. Either way, we can put it on the website.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any public comment? Perfect. All the procedures have been followed. Let's call the question. All those in favor of the publishing of the 2024 planning report of the Lower Makefield Township Planning Commission as prepared by the amazing and capable and very dedicated Mr. Dan McClune, please say aye. Aye.
Abstain.
4 ayes and 1 abstain. The motion passes. Thank you, Dan.
No problem.
I believe we have some public comment for matters not on the agenda. Is that correct? No? Perfect. Does anyone have any emergency motions to add to our agenda? All right, well, I think we're just going to sit here. All right, with all that being done, I will make a motion to
sorry.
adjourn
Colin.
the meeting.
Colin.
Hold on, TJ raised his hand.
I just wanted to check. So, our consultant HRG looks like they're going to be sending us an updated stormwater management ordinance. So, I'm not sure if you would like that to be in February. We could do a second meeting at the end of January. Dan, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so the township has some of you may actually be involved in this, an ad hoc stormwater management committee to review that ordinance. That committee, by the way we're handling it, that committee, and I'm a member, so that's why I know about this, will review it before it comes to this group, because we had a meeting in late November, early December, I believe, where we reviewed, it was mid-December. We reviewed the last version of the ordinance, made several comments, edits, and they said, I haven't seen any updates since then, but it should be coming fairly soon. Stormwater Committee will have a crack at it, which includes members of the EAC and the Planning Commission. And then once it gets cleaned up after that, it'll make its rounds officially to the
Okay.
voting committees, as I'll call you.
So next meeting will be in February then? We don't need to meet for that?
Probably won't come to us until
Okay,
March.
all right, no problem.
It might not come until
Okay. No, I just wanted,
February.
Jim wanted me to bring that up. I just wanted to be cordial and give you a heads up, but that works.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
So do I do this Mr. Bush style and just declare it adjourned and smack the gavel?
Good.
We are adjourned.